No time to sit this one out. It's time to get on my feet. Rise up and move to the rhythm of my pounding heartbeat. Passions are fired up. I will not fade away. Thunder driving through me. So much to do and say. Wake up, shake up. Step up, step out.
Hi, welcome to MPA Today, where we explore how to move ourselves forward in the Monadnock region to make ourselves a more sustainable, energized, equitable, and people-powered community. My name is Mary Ewell, and I'm going to be your host. Today, we have Devorah Kelly here from the MPA leadership team to talk about the Rights and Democracy Membership Assembly and People-Powered Summit on September 22nd. Welcome, Devorah.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for having me. This is kind of exciting.
So how are you today?
A little nervous, but as I said, very excited to be here, to be talking about MPA and RAD and the amazing things that we're managing to do in the Monadnock region.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to start out with just the basics. So
Okay.
can you help the audience here with the basic information of the Assembly and Summit?
Okay, so it's the RAD Membership Assembly and the Monadnock Progressive Alliance People-Powered Summit, which is a big term, and we'll break it down for you. It's happening September 22nd, which is a Saturday, and it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning for registration. And the morning is devoted to the Rights and Democracy Membership Assembly. But don't let that put you off, because even if you're not a member, we'd love to have you come and learn about rights and democracy. There's a organization in Vermont and New Hampshire, and this will be combining both. And then at lunchtime, there'll be a potluck lunch, more on that later, and Human Rights Awards will happen at that same time. And then in the afternoon, the Monadnock Progressive Alliance has organized a series of 8 really, really interesting and timely workshops.
Okay, so I see that it's both Rights and Democracy and MPA,
Right.
Monadnock Progressive Alliance. So why did they combine to do this kind of really big day?
Okay, so last year in December, there was a Rights and Democracy New Hampshire, Vermont Membership Assembly and Human Rights Awards. And I think about 17 of us from the Monadnock Progressive Alliance went to that and got really excited and very energized with what we were seeing beyond the Monadnock region. So our group decided to do a summit in September. And very quickly, Rights and Democracy, which is our sort of umbrella organization, we're an affiliate, we're a local affiliate, they said, what if we combine and do this together? And we said, yes, that makes a lot of sense, because putting the two organizations together gives us a lot more of that people power that we're looking for.
Yeah, and so Rights and Democracy is in both New Hampshire and Vermont.
Correct.
So you're hoping to attract people from both states
From
here.
both states, from the north to the south of both states, from east to west of both states, which is, Keene is in a perfect location. We're going to be hosting this at the Keene Middle School, which is right off Route 12 in West Keene, easily accessible from both New Hampshire and Vermont.
Great,
Yeah.
great. So, I mean, the people here listening, maybe they're not part of MPA, maybe they're not part of RAD, and I hear that the first part of the day, I think between 10 and 12,
Right.
is the membership assembly, and I
Right.
don't know, that sounds maybe a little bit, kind of, I'm not sure I want to go to that if I'm not part of MPA and RAD. So can you give me some reasons why
For
someone
going?
who
Sure.
might want to get involved in kind of progressive activity might want to go to this assembly?
Okay, good question. Because last year when I went, I was not an official member of Rights and Democracy, although I was a member of the Monadnock Progressive Alliance. And what I found is the Rights and Democracy organization is a well-oiled organization. They really have their act together, and it just opened my eyes to the possibilities. So if anyone in this region, and when I say region, I mean New Hampshire and Vermont, and even if you're down into Massachusetts and you want to find out what we're doing, please come. It's an opportunity to see the big picture, to see what is possible on a greater scope.
So really taking grassroots and combining this
Right.
kind of grassroots
Right.
energy.
And part of the morning will be voting for people who are running for office in RAD. So there's all kinds of positions. We have one of our MPA leadership team members is also a Rights and Democracy board member. So there's opportunities for that level of political activism, if you're so inclined. Or you can just come and absorb the energy of the day.
Great,
Yep.
great. So let's say someone, maybe they're not so sure.
Okay.
Maybe they're not quite ready to sit through the assembly. When might they want to think about coming?
Lunch is a perfect time. Everybody has to eat. So lunch is from 12, the lunch time is from 12 to 2, but within that period of time will be human rights awards. So organizations and people who have been doing something really positive to, as you said, move us forward will be acknowledged at that point. And then at 2:15, and you'd have to come a little early to register, but at 2:15 we start the workshops. So if you're not interested in the nuts and bolts of the Rights and Democracy and how that works, come for the workshops. And the workshops are on a pretty wide range of topics, although, to be honest, most of them do focus on how you can get involved at the local level.
Oh, okay. And with this being the election season,
Right.
yeah, how did MPA really kind of choose the topics? I mean, what were they focusing on when they
Okay.
were thinking about the topics for the workshops?
So what we did, we have a MPA summit team to organize this.
Okay.
And we just brainstormed, probably 30 different topics that had to do with things such as canvassing and community organizing, how to maintain a balance between political activism and your life, the rest of your life. So it was a wide range. Writing political songs was one of the brainstormed ideas. And through a process of talking about it, we narrowed it down to 8. And then we started looking at, okay, we want to do this workshop. Who do we know that could be a good facilitator for this workshop? And that kind of drove it a little bit too. So,
Yeah. Well, I could see that.
Yeah.
So, could we talk about some of the workshops? Can
Absolutely.
we go through them? And so, if this, a little bit before talking to it, I
Okay.
think I'm getting ahead of myself. It's from 2 to 5, so
Right.
it doesn't seem like there's enough time for people to go to 8 workshops.
No,
So
no.
how are they going to have to sign up for them, and how are they going to have to make a choice?
Well, that's always a hard part when you go to anything like this is we're going to try to have things that are similar in 2 different time slots, but there'll be one time slot from 2:15 to 3:30, and then another one from 3:45 to 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So an hour and 15 minutes, which is really just the tip of the iceberg for some of these workshops.
So even though there are 8 workshops,
You can go to
you can go to 2.
to 2.
So you have to make a decision
Right.
between 2 workshops
Yep.
when you're going ahead and
Right,
signing it
right.
up. Okay,
Yep,
okay.
Yep. So
All right. I just want to make that clear
right.
because
you don't get to
wow.
go to 8 workshops. That would probably be a whole weekend.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not there yet. Maybe next year.
Okay. And so now let's kind of look at what the
workshops?
workshops
Okay.
are holding. And I know
And-
the first you did talk about canvassing during your
Right,
brainstorming.
right.
So did canvassing get on the list?
It did. And I have to be honest, Mary, there's so much information that I have my little cheat sheet that I'll be referring to
That
to make
is
sure
okay.
I give the correct information. And I do want to do a disclaimer that I will be mentioning some of the workshop leaders, but that could change. And what we have a commitment from is the person who has said yes, if they cannot come, they will find someone of equal caliber to fill in. But right now,
Great.
this is what we have. So we have a workshop on deep canvassing. And deep canvassing isn't just going to the door and saying, who are you voting for? Deep canvassing involves inviting a conversation that can change a person's mind. So it's like, if I were doing deep canvassing with you, I would be asking you some questions to find out who you are and what your beliefs and values are, and where can we find some similarities.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so maybe not so much focused on a person,
Right.
but issue focused.
More issue focused.
Yeah.
And right now we have Heather Stockwell, who was an early MPA leader, who's
Mm-hmm.
now the grassroots organizer for Rights and Democracy in New Hampshire, and Melissa Bernadine, who's also a grassroots organizer. So they will be co-leading that workshop, and they're both very experienced in this particular field. And there's also one on building issue campaigns that may sound similar, but it's a little different. So it's
Okay.
my understanding of I have to admit, I'm fairly new in the past year and a half to this whole political arena, so I'm learning as I go. But issue campaigns are a way to change the culture through grassroots efforts. Okay, by focusing on the issues, not the person necessarily. Although, of course, there is a connection.
Well, sure. So
Right.
maybe some group of
Right.
politicians might believe in a certain issue
Right.
and come out and have it on their platform,
Right.
or
Exactly.
say something on the record about it,
Right.
and that enables someone to tie in that issue
Right.
campaign to a
Exactly.
certain person.
Right.
And that kind of leads me in to, I think, another workshop
The
that
bird
you
dogging?
guys, that bird dogging.
Okay, bird dogging, little bit of backstory here. When I looked up bird dogging, it said one of the definitions is stealing someone's date at a party.
That doesn't sound nice.
That's not what we're doing.
Okay, well, I don't want to do
We're
that.
not doing that. What we're doing is going to political events where there are candidates and getting them to say on the record something that we can then use later to say, well, this is what you said about Medicare for All. Are you still feeling that way? So
Okay.
it's a way to search, I'm going to do quotes, search out or pursue with dogged determination. So a bird dogger is someone who's going to do just that. They're going to dog this person, the political person's heels until they get a statement on the record. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so in that,
So that-
way, when they're going out and doing their deep canvassing,
Right.
they can say,
This is what so-and-so
this is what so-and-so said, this is what they believe,
Right.
because if we can get them on the record,
Right.
then deep
Yeah.
canvassing is
Yeah.
more meaningful.
So that's a whole skill. That's a whole skill
Yeah.
set that this particular workshop will teach. There's also, and Olivia Zink will be doing bird dogging.
Great.
We hope. She's the executive director of Open Democracy, and she has spoken at an MPA meeting in the past. So,
Great, so,
Yeah.
and she's based out of New Hampshire too,
Right.
isn't she?
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And then Emma Schoenberg, who's the lead organizer for RAD Vermont, is doing a workshop on nonviolent direct action, which to me, it says what it is. It's nonviolent and it's a direct action, also known as people power, which is what our summit is. So
Yeah,
it
so-
fits in beautifully.
So maybe an example of that nonviolent direct action. Can you give me an example that's kind of been maybe a little bit in the news?
Yes, and maybe one of our own people, some of our own people.
Yeah, some of our own MPA people.
Right, the Poor People's Initiative that happened recently. Some of our MPA members went up to Concord and went up with the sole purpose to be arrested for doing nonviolent direct action, civil resistance. When they were asked to leave the State House, and they didn't, and they were arrested.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
of the
so-
women is quite a bit older, actually, and I've talked to her, and she said it was nerve-wracking and exhilarating
wow.
to be part of that. So,
Yeah, yeah. So,
so
really,
there's training for that.
Yeah. So
Right.
so the real focus on nonviolent and making
Right.
sure that you're always staying calm, and so
Right.
you do need a little bit of training not to get
Right.
upset, not to get intimidated.
And not to get confrontational.
Yeah.
So that's one of the workshops.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
yeah.
I think we've gone, how many have we gone through?
We went
You
through
have your
4,
list.
so
You
there's
have 4.
There's 4,
Okay.
so we're halfway.
Okay.
So one that I'm really excited about, and if I have to make a choice, it might be that one, is powerfully sharing your story. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with politics?
Yeah.
Well, it's how to me, it would be part of that deep canvassing. It's like if I can take my story of how I got involved and really fine tune it so that I can share it like a soundbite kind of thing, like your elevator
Yeah.
speech,
Uh-huh.
it gives power. It's not just, oh, I'm just out here because I have nothing else to do. It's like, I have a reason for doing this, and here's my story.
Yeah, and so I could imagine people writing like many different stories.
Exactly.
Because maybe why someone cares about maybe the plastic pollution
Right.
is a little bit different than why they care about education.
Yep.
So maybe people could come in and write one story, but maybe help them write a whole bunch of other stories.
And I don't know if they're going to be to be honest, I don't know if they're going to be writing their stories or just having an opportunity to start fleshing out their story and saying, oh, this is what's important to me and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I could think everybody would
Right,
like to do
right.
that, right?
Everybody, tell your story.
Yeah, tell your
Right.
story. You don't even
Powerfully.
have to be political.
Powerfully, that's what I love. It's powerfully sharing
Yeah.
your story. And Aaron Termel, who's the political director of the New Hampshire Democratic Party, is the one that we have
great.
slated to do that.
Fantastic.
And the next one is one that I actually went to the workshop at a recent summit. It's
great.
intersectionality justice.
Wow,
I know.
intersectionality, justice. I'm not even sure that sounds grammatically correct, but I'm going to let you go with that.
Intersectionality is a fairly new term, and it has to do with the cumulative effect of different forms of discrimination when they come together. So you might be, for example, a woman, and that's one type of oppression and discrimination you're going to face. But if you're a black woman, and you're a black lesbian woman, and you're a black lesbian Jewish woman, there's lots of areas where that discrimination and oppression would intersect.
Okay.
Okay, and
wow.
then the intersectionality justice would be, so knowing that, how do we combat it?
Wow.
It's a powerful workshop. Very
That
powerful.
sounds
Yeah.
like a really difficult
It is,
thing
and
to
it's
combat.
also part of it. When I went to it, is recognizing our white privilege, and naming it.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
So that's a really powerful one, and that's Isaac Grimm, who's the organizing director for RAD New Hampshire.
Okay, so
And
that's right. Yeah,
Rights
that's
and
rights and
Democracy.
democracy. We keep saying
Right.
RAD, but we want to make sure that
It's
we
totally
connect
RAD.
RAD
Right.
and rights and democracy.
And Kate Logan, who's the director of programming and policy for RAD Vermont. So they come together and do
Great.
this.
So we got
Right.
the two-state connection going on
Right
there.
So.
Great.
And then restorative justice,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a broad term for when there's been a crime and you get
Okay.
the person who perpetrated the crime and the person who was the victim, and you get them together. And
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. And they've done it.
powerful.
I know they've done it in South Africa
Mm-hmm.
and other places where a whole nation has been victimized, and they
Yes.
get the oppressors and talking. So it can be really powerful and can be transformational, the results when you get them talking.
Yeah.
So if you notice, a lot of these workshops have to do with talking, with sharing who you are.
Yeah, with
With
an
being
open
open.
dialogue
Open
with
dialogue.
other people,
Open
like
dialogue.
how to
Yep.
start a conversation.
Yep.
With that, stop building the walls, right?
Stop building the walls. No
Yeah.
more walls. Okay.
Yeah, between people. Is there
There's
another
one more.
one?
There's one more. Community organizing, which Laura
Okay.
Lynch, who's an environmental organizer and also part of the Rights and Democracy New Hampshire leadership team.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
mouthful. And community organizing has to do with the coordination of cooperative campaign efforts that are carried out by the local citizens. All right, so it's not somebody coming from top down. It's local people promoting the interests of their community. So
Okay, so maybe like MPA?
kind of like MPA.
Kind
Yeah,
of like
kind
MPA.
of like MPA, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to say that if you're listening to this and you have never come to an MPA meeting, there is one next. Can I say this? Can I promote us?
Sure.
Okay. Next Tuesday, the 10th of July, it's going to be at, no? Oh, there's been a change. Never mind. But anyway, there are MPA meetings on the second Tuesday and the fourth Wednesday of each month.
Every month.
Of every month.
And so if you want to find out more about our meetings and exactly what our meetings are going to be about, you can check our website, and it just so happens that Devorah is in charge of our website, so she can tell you where to go on the web.
All right, the website is www.MPAToday.org. But if you just type in Monadnock Progressive Alliance to Google, it's the first one that comes up.
Great.
And we have all of our events and related events that we support, even if we're not the ones actually hosting them, and our meetings. And the summit, and the Progressive Summit is also going to be on there.
Great.
Yep,
Great.
is on there.
And we also have a Facebook page, don't we?
We do have a Facebook page. It's a closed group. So
Okay.
you do have, well, we have both. We have an open group
Yeah.
and we have a Facebook closed group that you have to request.
To
but
join.
there's several of us that are administrators. And
Great.
we
So
will
there's
say
lots
yes
of ways to engage.
get connected. And Rights and
Yeah.
Democracy is radnewhampshire.org or radvermont.org, VT and NH.
Great.
So lots of ways to get connected. And
Yeah. So I'm really excited to hear about this, and I'm sure that I might ask you back, maybe.
I would love to come back now that I know what this is all about.
Yeah.
And if I could just put in one really huge thank you to the Keene School District and Rob Millay, who's the superintendent, who have been so accommodating with working with us to get this venue, because it's a perfect venue for what we want to do. So thank you, Rob.
Great. Well, thanks.
Okay.
And thanks, everyone. We're going to wrap it up for today. And join me next week when we come back to talk on MPA Today.
Stand up, stand out, shout it out. Yes, I will. Yes, we can. Yes, I will.